Hello once more, students. I am putting up this quick video to talk to you about the two poems by Geoffrey Chaucer that I've given you. And you will see on the right side of the page my translation from Middle English to Modern English of these two poems. They're both short. Your textbook has the Canterbury Tales in it, at least excerpted. The Canterbury Tales is hilarious and brilliant. And so much good can be said of it, but it does not provide you with a translation for reasons that are hard for me to understand, quite frankly. It was a bit of an undertaking for me to translate the entirety of the Canterbury Tales for you. So I took it upon myself to translate two short representative poems of Chaucer's work. And what I would have you notice about these two things, basically. First, they're funny, they're ironic. They're poems that should cause us to understand he's kidding. The second thing I would have you notice is they're both love poems of a different kind. The first is to a woman, merciless beauty, or as he would have said, Geoffrey Chaucer, merciless beauté. He is talking about a woman he's in love with, but here's the deal. She really doesn't want anything to do with him. He keeps saying, why won't you be basically my lover? And she really seems not to have a bit of what the medieval thinkers called merci. She is not going to give him the time of day. She doesn't think he's for her. And so for the first two stanzas, you see he's suffering from his love. And at the end, he's over it and doesn't want to go back to being in love. It's a poem that is, in fact, in a romantic tradition of some of the troubadours, the people who used to sing beautiful songs to women under their windows in the days of castles and noble sons with no fortune. But this isn't exactly a pro-love poem. And then we have a poem which is quite literally about money, but it's money described as a woman. The Chaucer's complaint to his purse, which would normally have been filled with gold coins, except it wasn't. And this was a huge problem. There are no credit cards. There are no student loans in the Middle Ages. You either can pay for yourself or you can't, and you need gold or silver with which to do that. So Chaucer's complaint to his purse talks about the purse as if it were a woman who wants nothing more to do with him or is cheating on him. He calls his purse light. Now, if you think about a bag of gold coins, which is what a purse would have been, when the gold coins are not in there anymore, it's light. But a woman who is light is a woman who's stepping out on her man. So he refers to his purse as light, as if that were somehow related to the purse is slutty. The purse has stepped out on him. The purse has betrayed him by not having enough in it. I think we've all had that feeling. And at the end, there is something called an envoi. That is the last stanza, and it actually says the envoi of Chaucer. He's written the poem, and then he adds a verse, and he quite literally addresses that to the king, who would have been King Richard II at this time, and says to him, sir, I hope this poem, basically he's implying, sir, I hope this poem made you laugh. Could you send me some cash? I'm in some trouble. Could you maybe take a little mercy on me and help me out here? Chaucer is deeply engaged with the court of Richard II. He is a very important protector, the king's uncle, who, when the king was a boy, He became king at a very young age. His uncle was the guy who basically ran England. So the fact that Chaucer's protector is this man, John of Gaunt, is huge. It means that he is in a position where he actually could send a poem like this to the king and quite possibly expect the king to send one of his agents with a bag of gold to help the guy out because he's pals with his uncle. He helps the royal family. Chaucer is a really interesting guy. He speaks multiple languages, and because his father is a wine merchant in England, and he ends up in the service of this Duke, John of Gaunt. And what happens is that he gets sent on what seems to have been a secret mission to Italy. Literally, Chaucer is a spy, but he is also a government negotiator for the King of England's household. And while he's there, he sees all of these amazing pieces of Italian literature. He reads Dante, he reads Boccaccio, and it occurs to him that what the Italians are doing with literature related to both deep thoughts and humor, someone in England might do. And it turns out that someone is him. He invents many words that people still have today. Shakespeare invents more words than Chaucer, but Chaucer is kind of the granddaddy of modern English, if not, well, Shakespeare is perhaps the father. We have written English largely because of the work that was done within Chaucer's opus. We have many, many expressions. And perhaps it is surprising for us in this day and age to see somebody who is at once this cynical about love and this funny about love. One mistake I would like you to avoid: just because a piece of literature is really old doesn't mean it wasn't supposed to be funny. That goes for Sir Gawain and the Green Knight as well, and many of the other works that we read. And it's not as if our ancestors, linguistically and otherwise, had no sense of humor. At least I hope your ancestors had a sense of humor. I am grateful to the extent that mine did. And linguistically, literarily, our ancestors were funny AF more often than you might imagine.